conversation as we talk about APC's victory setting agenda for President Muhammadu Buhari. APC's victory setting agenda for President Buhari. That's our topic of conversation this morning. We know that in 2015, the president ran on the promise that he was going to tackle insecurity, fight corruption, and revive the economy, because at the time, the oil price has crashed to as low as $30 per barrel. And he said he was going to ensure that once the country entered recession, and many wondered whether, the promise to revive the economy was in place. But he came up, his administration, especially with the help of the Vice President, Amayo, who heads the National Economic Team, he came up with the ERGP, which is the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, and they set the agenda to revive the economy. Every budget after that was centered around the ERGP. Whether that worked or not, we want to hear from you as to what you think he did in terms of reviving the economy and what you want to see done in this new administration. Also, he also promised to fight corruption. Many people have said, his fight against corruption is selective, while some Nigerians commend him on fighting corruption, saying that irrespective of whether it's selective or not, as long as there is a move, as long as people have been prosecuted and arrested, that's all that matters to them. But others say those that have been arrested and arraigned are majorly members of the People's Democratic Party and other political parties. That as long as you're a member of his party, or once you defect to the APC, it looks like you have some sort of immunity. So we also want to hear from you as to what you think the president has done in terms of fighting corruption and what you want to see done in this new administration. And finally, the other promise made was the promise to tackle insecurity headlong. Just before the president took office in 2015, we had the challenge of Boko Haram. Many said that the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, didn't do as well as he should have done in terms of fighting the Boko Haram insurgents in the north. But others said he did as much as he could in terms of the resources that were, information and resources that were available to him, or cooperation of some people in some quarters. As during his administration, we also heard the former president say that some members of his cabinet, are also working with the Boko Haram sect. But the president now said he was going to tackle those insurgents headlong. Some people have said he's done well in that area, that we've seen most of the territories claimed by Boko Haram, especially Bama in local government in Borno state, being recovered by the military. Others say that with the spring up of the herdsmen and farmers' attack, that we cannot say he has done so well when it comes to insecurity, especially with the president's failure to declare the herdsmen as a terrorist group. Some say that the fight is lopsided. Looking at the way he dealt with the issues of insecurity in the east, with the IPOB, and the way he has dealt with the issues of herdsmen in the north. So those are different opinions from different people, but we also want to hear from you as we are setting an agenda for the president in 2019. Another issue that came up in 2015 with the president's government is his failure to constitute a cabinet close to 5 months into office. It took him time to constitute a cabinet, and many economists and policy analysts have said that was the major reason for the recession, that if there was a cabinet, there would then be a team of people who are working assiduously to ensure that the economy is revived. But because of the lack of that, there was no team, there was no policy direction for the country in 5 months. That might have been the reason why the country had that issues with economy, had that issues with recession. But we also want to hear from you. What do you think the president should do? He has said over and over again that he wants to constitute or reconstitute or reshuffle his cabinet, but we never saw that. The president said he will reshuffle his cabinet over and over again, but that never happened. We saw some ministers leave. A few ministers died and they had to be replaced. Kemi Adelsun she resigned from office. She had to be replaced by Zainab Ahmed. We also saw the now deputy Deputy Secretary General at the United Nations, in the person of, I think Aisha, I'm trying to remember her name now, who also also had to leave because she took another office and she was also replaced. But, you know, there was really no reshuffling of cabinet. How well did the president's cabinet do? And what do you want to see done in terms of his cabinet in 2019? These are some of the issues we're looking at in this moment. The election has been held. An independent National Electoral Commission has declared a winner, except, you know, we see that election tribunal goes, we see Atiku go to the election petition tribunal, and that result is overturned. Then for now, the president is the president-elect. You know, although he's a president, he's also the president-elect for set for inauguration in May 2019. So while we're working with that information, what differences would you want to see in this administration? What would you want the president to do? We want to hear your call. He has said he's going to forge an inclusive government. Do you think that that's going to happen? Do you think that you're going to see members of the opposition in President Buhari's cabinet? Are you going to see him work with technocrats who are not members of his cabinet? Do you think that that's, who are not members of his party? Do you think that that's something that the president or the APC can do in 2019 in this present administration? We didn't see that happen in the past administration. We didn't see that inclusive government. Most of the people we saw were members of the APC. There was no inclusive government. Is it possible to have an inclusive government in the next 4 years? We'll also want to hear from you. In terms of, there was an online poll put out by the APC asking people to vote for what they want the president to do. 71% of the people said they want the president to work on economy and jobs. 13% said they would want the president to deal with issues around infrastructure, while 8% said they will want the president to tackle insecurity and fight against corruption. So those are the statistics there. But from you, do you think that, are you with the 71% who thinks that economy and jobs are the most important thing at the moment in the country? Or do you also think that infrastructure, are you with the 13% who says infrastructure is also very important? Or the 8% who going with security and fight against corruption? But surprisingly, 8% is quite low. One would think that when it comes to security and fighting corruption, that would be uppermost in people's minds. But it looks like everyone seems to be going with, or most people seem to be going with, the economy and jobs. Basically, they're thinking of what puts food on their table, what keeps them going, which is economy and jobs, and just very few people, their handful, going with security and fighting corruption, which means that 71% have set some sort of agenda for the president to begin to deal with issues around unemployment. Millions of Nigerians are unemployed at the moment. Millions upon millions upon millions of Nigerians are unemployed at the moment, and they would want to, most of them would want to get jobs. We keep churning out graduates from the university. A lot of people are graduating every other day. In fact, we're having more universities being commissioned at the moment, more universities getting licenses, you know. It means that we're going to have, the more universities we commission and license, it means that we're going to have more graduates in the country. But what plans are we putting in place to ensure that these people get jobs? What plans is the federal government putting in place to ensure that jobs are created? It's always been said over and over and over again that the federal government can only do its best in creating jobs, but it must begin to create an enabling environment for the private sector to be able to create jobs. And one of those enabling environments it must create is the issue around power. Private sector has been, over the years, doing all it can to generate its own power through the use of generator. And if we begin to calculate the amount of money some organizations spend on just diesel and fuel alone, it's enough to take care of their general overhead costs. I mean, just the amount of diesel. If some organizations calculate the amount they spend on diesel, it can pay staff salary for a month. What's a month? It can pay staff salary, you know, for the whole year. The amount of money they spend on diesel. So if we're going to set an agenda for the president in terms of creating jobs, which 71% of Nigerians have said they want, the president must begin to look at the issues around the power sector. If we're power sector, we must have at least 24, in fact, we must have 24-hour supply of power in this country for the private sector to be able to grow enough to absorb more people into that sector. We must have a private sector that has power to run its operations, all through. In some organizations, as we speak, the light is off. They turn off their generator, except when there is business, they turn it back on. But there are some organizations, especially for media houses, you can't turn off your generator because TV business or radio business is a 24-hour business. Print journalism business is a 24-hour business. You have to continue to churn out content, and to do that, you need power supply. So if these kind of organizations that depend on power, 24-hour in a day to survive and to be able to pay staff salary, and they should be able to absorb more people into their employ, the federal government, especially the president, has to do more in terms of power supply. Like we said, our phone lines are open. You can call us to let us know what you think the agenda the president should be setting now, especially in the next 100 days, from when he takes office, which is May 29, 2019. What should be the agenda that the president should set? What should be uppermost in his mind? What's more important to you? Is it power? Is it employment? Is it jobs? Is it infrastructure? Is it security? Is it fighting corruption? We want to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, but when you do call in, turn down the volume of your TV set. Speak to us via phone. Do not try to talk to us through the television, and also mind your language. We know that a lot of people want to comment on what's ongoing. Mind your language. You can't cast aspersion on anybody. Just speak to us without using any foul language. But just before we take your calls, let's take this reaction from Nigerians as to the outcome of the polls.
Word alone is not enough to express what we experienced, or I as a person experienced in last administration. And the worst thing about the past administration was very visible. You can see them. You can even at Lagos here, most of the road, even our bus terminal. He has tried. I won't say he hasn't tried.
In fact, it's nothing to write home about. We didn't receive or get what we expected from his government.
For my own observation, I see those people voting in there in the first time, there are those that see voting in again for the second time again. So for my own observation, let them go and rule the country in peacefully, and let them remember that people
campaign, but the one thing most of us have in common is love of our country and our desire to improve conditions for Nigerians. From the comment of several observers, both local and foreign, it is obvious that the elections were both free and fair. Now that the elections are over and our winner declared, we must all see it as a victory for Nigeria, our dear country. That was why I encouraged my team and supporters in a speech I read earlier today, not to gloat. Our God-given victory is enough cause for joy, without deriding those who are in the opposition. All Nigerians going forward must stand in brotherhood for a bright and fulfilling future.
Let me say that I'm not speaking electoral fraud perpetrated by the Buhari administration this past Saturday cannot produce a government. Nigerians, it is for this reason that I, Atiku Abubakar, reject the results declared by the
word alone is not enough to express, and the worst thing about the past administration was this time, I don't know what he's going to do this time.
His doings are very, very visible. You can see them. You can even at Lagos here, you know, most of the constructions, the bridges and the road, even our bus terminal. No, he has tried. I won't say he hasn't tried, but trust me, as a Nigerian, what we expected from his government.
For my own observation, I see those people voting India in the first time. There are those that see voting, but there are people are feeling hunger. People are feeling hunger. Hunger is killing a lot of people in all Nigerians. This is a second chance. This is an opportunity for him now to amend for what he has done for all day along.
What he needs to do is to improve his administration.
All right, welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us on the program. You're still watching Superdawn here on Super Screen Television. Nigerians expressing mixed reaction mounted to nothing, but that's the opinion of Nigerians. But one thing was clear, and everyone had expectations, or an agenda, or agenda rather, for the president. Some say he should deal with issues around hunger. We saw somebody there talking about reconciliation. He should find a way to reconcile all aggrieved parties and all Nigerians. While someone talked about hunger, he must begin to look for how Nigerians will have access to food, at least 2 meals a day. And somebody talked about bridges, which has to do with infrastructure. What is your agenda for the president? We're still looking at APC's victory, setting an agenda for President Buhari. APC's victory, setting agenda for President Buhari. What do you think that should be the president's focus? Our phone lines are open. You can call in to contribute to the program. What do you want? Are you satisfied with the president's first term in office? If you're not, what do you think he should begin to do now as his second term approaches? What should be his agenda? What should be the things that he should be considering? Our phone lines are open. You can call in to make your contribution. And when you call, please turn down the volume of your TV set. Also endeavor to not use foul language or cast aspersions on anyone. We're waiting to hear from you. We want to also hear from you. There is another issue. The former vice president of the country, Atiku Abubakar, who is also the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, has said he's going to court, and that's against all advice that he should concede a defeat. But he has rejected the result and said that result was a subversion of the will of Nigerians. So he's going to court. We'll also want to hear from you. Should the vice president concede defeat, or should the former vice president concede defeat, or should the former vice president go to court? What should be the major issue right now that he should be dealing with? Many say that he's acting against advice, that he's going to waste his money going to court. He should just forget the issue. If he still wants to run, he can prepare for the next 4 years. But will you vote for him in the next 4 years, knowing that he will be 77 and will turn 80 in office? Is age a big thing for you? If not, also let us know, should he concede defeat, as advised by people like Olisa Bakoba, Dele Momodu, the Arewa Consultative Forum also advised that he concedes defeat. The Nigeria Labour Congress also advised that he concedes defeat. Do you think that he should concede defeat? Do you think that he should head to court? What do you think he should be doing now? We would like to hear from you on that issue. You can also call in to make your contribution on that issue. So there are two issues here. We're setting an agenda for the president, as his second term approaches. And we're also asking you to let us know whether you want the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, to concede defeat or to head to the court. But let's talk about some of the issues raised there by Nigerians. One of them was the issue around reconciliation. We're going to look at that in two ways. Reconciliation in terms of reconciling, aggrieved parties in this election. We've seen yesterday the army paraded, or 2 days ago, the army paraded a commissioner in Rivers State. Of course, now the governor of Rivers State, Wike, has said he's heading to the ICC. He's taking the commander of that army to, not just the army, but of that division, to the International Criminal Court for violation of human rights. He thinks that people should not be arrested while they're on election duty. That's an aggrieved party. There are lots of aggrieved people around the country at this moment, whether parties, whether political parties, whether candidates, politicians, and just the electorate. Some people are aggrieved at the moment. What should the president do in terms of reconciliation, in terms of getting everyone together to ensure that the country is working? And what should he do in reconciling people who feel like, there was also issues around the lopsidedness of appointments. Some people think that most of the appointment went to the northern region. Others say, look, the appointments were general. We had a lot of appointment also coming to the south. But whatever opinion you share, how can the president begin to reconcile everyone at this moment to ensure that the country is headed in the same direction? That is called for referendum that we hear over and over again is a thing of the past. So that's reconciliation in two folds: reconciling aggrieved members or aggrieved people during the elections, and also reconciling Nigeria. What can the president do, in terms of that? Okay, all right, we have a maker calling from Ododi Apapa. Good morning, Emeka.
Good morning, God bless you. In the area of appeal going to court.
All right, thank you so much, Amayo. Defeat. What's your opinion on that? Let us know whether the vice president should go to court or not. Do you want him? Do you think that, look, there are claims here, the facts are accurate, he should head to court, or do you think that he should just concede defeat as done by the former former president of the country, Goodluck Jonathan, who many now say he's an ambassador of peace? Should the former vice president Atiku Abubakar, put his name on that roll call of ambassadors of peace? What makes you an ambassador of peace? But worthy of note is that in other parts of Lagos, Nigerians are also reacting to the victory of the president. Now, Nkiruka Ibe tells us more in this report.
Saturday, February 24th, was to exercise the franchise for the presidential and National Assembly elections. To bring the election to its climax, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) announced the candidates of the All Progressives by a margin of 3.9 million. Superscreen.
We were actually looking at a Nigeria where our decision and don't want this, we want this. But it's so unfortunate that the results we're seeing, it doesn't really correspond with what we saw in different polling stations. So the
result of the election, it shows that Nigerians know who is really on their side. I mean the masses.
We accept everything because the way things are going in the country is at least a little bit bad. We can't say we are getting it right.
Nigerians though it's not perfect, but we can see some element of good governance in his ways.
President Muhammadu Buhari, in his acceptance speech, said he will continue in his fight against corruption, insecurity, and improving on the economy.
It's very, very much achievable. We know him to be somebody that has zero tolerance for corruption, and he has promised to continue.
Too good for the masses, especially for the pensioners.
As the Nigerian presidential election of time,
it is different strokes for different folks. While some people are expressing joy over the victory of the president, others are saying that this election was marred by, they don't think that he has said that, all aggrieved, he was going to try and reconcile all aggrieved members. But the former vice president of the country, Atiku Abubakar, who is also the presidential similarities. So for that reason, he's not congratulating the president. He's seeking legal action. Divide it. Do you allow the issues go, whether they were irregularities in electoral process? All right, we have Vivian calling from Ilasa. Good morning, Vivian.
Hello. Atiku has to go to court. After all, there is already some version of justice. For him going to that place does not mean anything. The will of the people has been trashed. So the best thing for him to do is to wait for another time, or they should field somebody else so that we keep on voting our conscience until we suppress them down. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Vivian, for calling us. There is something Vivian said, there is not just, according to Atiku, there was some version of the will of the people during elections, but Vivian is saying there is also some version of justice, which means that according to her, if the former vice president goes to court, what are the chances that he's going to get fair ruling, that justice will not also be subverted? And she's saying he shouldn't bother. It is a waste of time and resources. But we know that the president in 2011, when he did not win, he went to court. And also went to court on the 2015 when he won the elections. Should it be the same for the former vice president? Should he just say, look, I am going to listen to all the advice I'm getting from legal practitioners? Okay, all right. Good morning, Emeka, calling us from Mushin.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I don't think it's necessary to go to court. The rigging has been done. Everybody knows that it was clear, a clear rigging. Everybody voted for Atiku. I'm very sure of that. But it's been going to court. I think nothing positive coming out from it. So I'm pleading on behalf of Nigeria to just continue this and let it go. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Emeka. Emeka also saying that Atiku shouldn't bother to go to court. He says, look, it is clear that the election wasn't free and fair, but he shouldn't go to court. But the question here is, if we keep saying that he should not go to court, how do we then strengthen our democratic system here? Because we keep saying that people shouldn't go to court to seek justice. We say let the issue go. If this issue plays out again in 2023 election, and we also ask the person who is aggrieved not to go to court, it means that we have not, doesn't that then mean that we're not putting in place the plans to at least, or the mechanism to write the electoral process here in Nigeria? All right, Fawaz is calling from Ajegule. Good morning, Fawaz.
Good morning, ma.
Good morning.
What I see in this matter is that I think Atiku did not need to go to court about this matter. He needs to step down for the winner, because he has already said in the matter that he wants to sell NNPC, which is not necessary for him to do so. I don't think he needs to go to court. The best thing for him is to just calm down and accept his fate. That's all. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much, Fawaz. All right, that's another caller saying he shouldn't bother to go to court. But one of the things, one of the mood, or one of the things we're getting from the conversation so far, is that there is a distrust of the judiciary system. It looks like a lot of people do not trust the judicial system, so they are saying do not bother because you might not get justice. Well, how did we get to this place where people think that going to court doesn't mean that you are going to get justice? The court is supposed to be the hope of the common man. So why are people saying that if he goes to court, he might not get justice? If he has facts and evidence that the election was rigged, if he has facts and evidence that there were irregularities in the election, shouldn't he go to court where we cannot even trust our judicial system to deliver a fair judgment? We're saying, a lot of people are saying that INEC did not deliver fair elections. All right, Shadrach calling from Makoka. Good morning, Shadrach.
Hello.
Hello, Shadrach. Go ahead, we can hear you. Turn down the volume of your TV set.
Yes.
Go ahead, Shadrach. Hello, Shadrach. All right, we lost that call. Hopefully, Shadrach, please call us back. We want to hear from you. Should the former Vice President and the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate concede defeat, or should he seek legal action? But from the calls we've gotten so far, people are saying he should not seek legal action because they do not trust the judicial system to deliver fair judgment. According to Vivian, there might also be subversion of justice. But should we at least give credit to the judicial system? Is there not a possibility that when he goes to court, he also, what if there's a ruling in his favor? But if he doesn't try, he never knows. I want to hear from you what you think. Should he go to court or should he not go to court? But the reason a lot of, okay, we have Olagbaja calling from Ikoyi. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Please go to the court.
You should go to court.
To the court.
I can't hear you clearly.
That was one of us saying, so he's still to go to the court, but the question is what are doing is the antecedent. When he was there, with the former president, what are doing their performances? He just trying to waste his time. Shouldn't be taught the Nigerian peace. They don't have any good antecedent in the past, so what's the problem disturbing the people of the country?
All right, thank you so much, Lagbaja. Lagbaja, they're saying that the former vice president shouldn't go to court because of his antecedents in office. When he was in office, he didn't do so much. So what's the point of wasting his time to go to court? He's speaking from the angle of antecedents, that there was poor performance during his time as the vice president, former vice president of his country. So he shouldn't bother to go to court. But that's also Olagbaja giving his opinion there. Nigerians all saying he shouldn't go to court. Some saying that the only way that we can have peace in the country is when the former vice president doesn't go to court. But we also know that a court is a place for peaceful resolution of disputes. So does it mean that, okay, all right, Shadrach calling back from Makoka. Good morning, Shadrach.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. To me, the system was not free and fair. The electoral process was compromised. A lot of manipulation took place. For me, it was not a free and fair election, but I was able to get certificates to go to court because even the court system, the judicial system is also compromised. Whatever thing that's going to happen there is simply in the favor of the people.
All right. Thank you so much, Shadrach. He said Shadrach also agrees that the election was not free and fair. He's going with the opinion that the election was not free and fair, but he's also asking the Atiku not to go to court. I'm trying to understand why people who say the election was not free and fair, but also say the former vice president shouldn't go to court. I'm trying to understand the correlation between those two statements. If you think that the election was not free and fair, shouldn't that be the reason you advise him to go to court? If you are saying you know that the election was not free and fair, shouldn't he then go to court and seek redress? We have the Election Petition Tribunal. If the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal is not, he doesn't go, okay, we have Oloye calling from Wushi. Good morning, Oloye.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Superdawn.
Impression.
All right, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Atiku did not say he's going to sell NNPC. Atiku said he's going to privatize NNPC.
for everybody to be shareholder. That is what Atiku said. Atiku never said he will sell NNPC. So they're just using this thing now as in fact, as a propaganda to spoil his name. Atiku did not want to sell NNPC. Atiku said he will privatize NNPC for Nigerians to be shareholders in NNPC. That is what Atiku said.
All right,
Oloye. Thank you very much.
Oloye, do you think he should go to court?
Well, it's not for him. If he can go to court, then he can. If he cannot go to court, well, no problem. But before then, the name I tell you is not my name. I don't want to tell you my name, because if I tell you my name, people will know who is speaking. That is the thing. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for calling us. Thank you for giving us a pseudonym. You don't want us to know your name. But you called in to correct the impression as to what the former vice president said about the sale of NNPC. You said he didn't say he was going to sell it. He said he was going to privatize it so that every Nigerian can be shareholders. But you're also saying that whether he goes to court or not, you really are indifferent as to that decision. But I was speaking to Nigerians who were saying that the election wasn't free and fair, but Atiku shouldn't go to court. So if you're saying the election wasn't free and fair, shouldn't you be advising him to go to court to seek redress? And okay, all right, Sukomi is calling from Ojota. Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, Sukomi. Welcome to Superdawn.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Do you?
I don't think Atiku should go to court because the child is said, is corrupted. Even the INEC stuff team, they know what they are doing. You understand? It's just like they are playing Nigeria. They are just playing Nigeria. They know what they are doing.
All right, so Sukomi, I want to hear you again. Did you say he should go to court?
No, you shouldn't go to court.
Okay, he shouldn't go to court. Okay.
They know what they are doing. The judicial system is corrupt.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sukomi, calling from Ojota. You're joining the tens of Nigerians who have called us today saying Atiku shouldn't go to court because of subversion of justice. You don't trust the judiciary to deliver fair judgment. But is there also a possibility that he gets favorable judgment in court? Are we also not, why are we not looking at the side of what if he gets favorable judgment? What if he goes in there and gets favorable judgment? But is it also possible that if he doesn't get favorable judgment in election petition tribunal, is it not also possible that he moves on to the appeal court, the Supreme Court, and that he might get favorable judgment in one of those courts? I mean, we can't just say that all of them will deliver justice, or all of them will not deliver justice. If he actually has evidence, we ask the fact, shouldn't he go to court? We want to hear from you. Some elites or some Nigerians have advised him not to go to court. For example, Lisa Agbakoba has said he shouldn't bother going to court because he should act as an elder statesman. They are saying, look, become an elder statesman, act like the former president of the country, Goodluck Jonathan, who did not go to court, who said, look, this election was free and fair. I am going to, concede defeat. I am going to say congratulations to the president. He put, even just before the votes were still being counted, the votes were still being collated, where the former president put a call across to President Buhari to congratulate him and concede defeat. But we know, when you look at the 2015 and 2019 election, will you say that things played out the same? Was it as free as the one in 2015? Because that 2015 election has been said to be one of the freest elections in Nigeria. Election observers also said that the election was fair. But if you had an election where polling units were burnt, ballot boxes were snatched, and you compare that with 2015, where it wasn't the case, or at least we didn't have that much, ballot box snatching in 2015, shouldn't the vice president then go to court to challenge, that kind of election where that was marked by irregularities? And we also have, we have Alayonde calling from Ireland. Good morning. Good morning, Alayonde. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome to Superdawn.
Thank you so much.
I don't need to go to court or it's left to him. Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. Alayande, please go ahead if you can hear us.
Hello.
Go ahead, we can hear you. All right, we can't hear you at all, Lion. I think we lost that call already. Please call us back. You were going to give us your opinion as to whether Atiku should go to court or not, or whether he should just concede defeat. What's your opinion? Should a former vice president act in a conduct, that people have described as elder statesman, where you concede defeat and just move on? Or should he go to court to seek redress? There have been a rejection of the result by the PDP, which is the party he represents. We know that in one of the states, the party agent actually rejected the result, wrote a petition and gave to the, okay, we have Wisdom calling from Olodia Papa. Good morning, Wisdom.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, good morning, Wisdom. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Wisdom.
There's no need of Wisdom calling from Apapa. No need of Atiku going to court. The people who are sitting in the court, the same people that President Buhari has allowed them to point them. So the real thing that we should just not to forget about it, the rule has been done already. So we shouldn't get caught again, so that the peace can reign in Nigeria. Let him just forget about it.
All right, thank you so much, Wisdom. Wisdom also joining other Nigerians saying Atiku should go to court. It looks like everyone, or most people who have court today, do not want him to go to court. It is only just one person who has said that he shouldn't go to court because of his poor performance in office, but everybody seems to be citing the subversion of justice as the reason why he shouldn't go to court. People believe that the judiciary is not independent. Judiciary, it looks, according to, from the opinion we're getting, you basically think that the judiciary is like a rubber stamp of the executive, and executive controls the judiciary. So it shouldn't bother. If the executive can control INEC, you think that the executive has controlled INEC, and subverted the will of the people during the election. You are also saying that it shouldn't bother to go to court. But isn't the court a place for resolution of dispute? Isn't the court where, in this case, isn't the court the place where he should go and seek redress if all of you that are calling are saying there were irregularities in the election? The Arewa Consultative Forum has also said he should not go to court. The Nigeria Labour Congress has also said he should not go to court. But I'm going to take a statement by the former vice president, where he said that he's going to go to court. Now, according to Punch newspaper, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the February 23rd presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, on Wednesday said he will not congratulate the president because the election was not free and fair, but marred by irregularities. All right, we have Abimbola calling from Bagada. Good morning, Abimbola. Good morning, Abimbola. Hello.
Okay. I just want to tell Atiku if he likes, he should go to court. But I'm very sure that the election was not manipulated. I am quite sure. Atiku cannot defeat Buhari from the election. Even Atiku has tried so many times, also Buhari. But how are we sure what Atiku has promised Nigerians that he will do? Buhari has integrity, and people trust in him that he could do it. That's why he's been elected the second time. All Atiku should do is have his own patience, try other times, maybe he will win. But if not, he should congratulate the president. But for me, it might be manipulated, but not while Atiku cannot defeat Buhari, I'm quite sure. Because he has integrity. When Atiku and Obasanjo were there, what has he done? He was there. And he has tried so many times, but the best is to keep Nigeria going, and we should have peace in Nigeria. So there's no need of going to court. And if he wants to go to court, if he has the evidence, let him prove it to Nigerians. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Abimbola. Abimbola has a different opinion, but for a different reason. She's saying Atiku should go to court to seek redress, but she doesn't believe that, you know, the election was manipulated. She basically wants him to go to court so that he can be proven wrong. She thinks that the election was free and fair, and that even if it was manipulated, there is no way that Atiku can defeat Buhari, because according to her, Buhari has integrity. And when Atiku was in office, he didn't do much for Nigerians. And she said so he can go to court if he has facts and evidence to prove his claim. So that's a different one from Abimbola, the first person who is saying he should go to court. But she has a very different reason for asking him to go to court. But again, we're talking about the subversion of the will of justice. I mean, this should also begin to make us think of the judiciary and reforms in the judiciary. If most of the Nigerians who have called here are talking about subversion of the will of justice, then it then means that we need to reform the judiciary. But we need to take a break now, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Do stay with us.
Superscreen television is now on Star Times, channel 173. Tentacles are extended to give you the very best of sports, news, entertainment shows, current affairs, blockbuster movies, and lots more. Tune in to Star Times channel 173 and enjoy the very best of Superscreen television. Now you're talking.
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us on the program. We're still looking at the issue as to whether Atiku should go to court or not. The question is, should Atiku go to court or not, or should he concede defeat? We've gotten a lot of opinion here, people saying that Atiku should not go to court because they do not trust the judicial system. And one of the questions I asked earlier is, we have a call from Gloria. Gloria calling from Ikorodu. Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I want to support the motion that Atiku should go to court.
All right, Gloria.
To fight for his rights. If he has all the evidences that he's claiming, he has it already. He should go to court, even though he did not get a fair judgment. History will record it. Like the case of June, everybody knows Bella's case was stolen. So the mandate was stolen. The children yet unborn, we know, and we know the type of integrity we are talking about. Because in this Nigeria, somebody supposed to have to stand up against all these election by and rigging in this country. The injustice is too much. People's voices are not heard. We cannot just be keeping quiet and say God will do it. No. We have the right to say what we want and what we don't want in this nation. We have other countries around us, how they conduct elections in this African country. Why is it that Nigeria is always mad by rigging? When they were collecting results, the NIC chairman was saying that they should write petition to he will see to it before he announces results. We were surprised what he will now do to give certificate. We did not even know anything about all those petitions they wrote to him. All the questions they asked him, he said he will answer later. He did not say anything concerning it. Let people go to court. Let the whole community of the world know what is happening in Nigeria. Let people, because they did not go to court to challenge this act. 2013, to 2023. The election violence will be more than what we have seen today, because everybody will not believe that when you kill more, you will be installed, and nothing will happen. They will tell you not to go to court. Leave it. Even though let there be the whole APC people that will still be in court, but it's not only them. The whole international community will see what is happening in Nigeria, and history will record it. That posterity will judge. That is this. That is my own candid suggestion.
Thank you so much, Gloria. You spoke with so much passion there. I see how you seem to be angry with people who are saying he shouldn't go to court. Again, everyone has an opinion. But I want to also pick up on something you said, is that when we do not go to court, if we're always afraid that, we will not get justice, when are we going to fix the system? How do we then fix the system? The system would not fix itself, because everybody is saying he shouldn't go to court. And I am not of the opinion as to whether he should go or should not go. But I'm kind of worried that people are saying, there will be subversion of justice. Is it that we cannot trust our judicial system here to deliver fair justice, fair judgments to us as citizens? Is the court not the hope of the common man anymore? I know that just before the elections, the CJN was suspended, and that sort of created some sort of uproar in the society where people felt the executive was infiltrating or interfering in the issues of the judiciary, and that the NJC is the only body, which is the National Judicial Council, is the only body that has the right to suspend or recommend the suspension of the CJN. And then people said that action by the presidency was targeted towards the elections because of the constitution of members of the election petition tribunal. All right, we have Gabriel calling from Aguda. Good morning, Gabriel. Hello, good morning, Gabriel. Can you hear us?
Oh, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you, Gabriel. Go ahead.
It's my opinion that he should go to court. But there is this thing that I'm hearing that it seems to be common with us in Nigeria. Anytime we have any small issue, we are quick to call the international community. What sense does that really make? Are we not conscious of the fact that everybody, I'm not saying what they are doing is right or wrong, but this idea of always calling the international community, can't we do things by ourselves? Are we not growing enough to handle things ourselves? Yet, if he has evidence, let him go to court. But this idea of let the international community, they have their own problems too, and they will not solve our problem unless they have something to gain by it. So we should be wise. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Gabriel, who calling us from Aguda. Thank you very much. You're asking Atiku, or you're advising him to go to court, but you do not like the idea of the international committee being called upon at every point in time. But I'm sticking with your call for him to go to court. You are saying as long as he has the facts and the evidence, he should go to court. I think that as long as we must get to the place where we can trust our judicial system. It's not about whether he decides or not, that's his business. But we must begin to think that our judicial system can deliver fair judgment. And we must begin to also hold them to that task of delivering fair judgment. I mean, we all cannot resign ourselves to fate and say, well, they won't deliver fair judgment, so we shouldn't bother. So you're saying that, for example, if you're forcefully ejected from your home, but if you have a landlord who forcefully ejects you from your home, you will not go to court. Are you saying that if someone, harassed you on the way, for example, you were robbed at gunpoint and you know who did it, you would not go to court because you're afraid that, you will not get fair justice? How long are we going to keep quiet, and let things just happen because we're afraid we will not get justice? All right, we have John calling us from Wishi. Good morning. Hello, John. Good morning. Welcome to Superdawn. Hello, John. We can hear you.
Is that he should go to court. Don't he doesn't want to say he should not go to court. Yeah. Meanwhile, if the people are saying he should not go to court, you can imagine he was re-elected. There was no jubilation anywhere. It's all the streets, all the if you go out there, everywhere is just looking calm as if the results have not been announced. So why shouldn't he go to court? People are not happy. If people are happy, there should be jubilation that somebody that he was re-elected. So I don't think people telling him not to go to court is the right thing. If he has his evidence, which the evidence is already there in the street, is out there. There are so many things you should take to court. If you open Facebook, you will see so many things that happen where the ballot boxes were done with people clearing electoral materials and rest of them. You need to go to court. That is my opinion.
All right, thank you so much, John, for calling in, saying, also supporting that Atiku should go to court. We're having more people now saying he should go to court. Earlier, people were saying he should not go to court, but now we're having people saying he should go to court. We want to hear your opinion. Continue to call us. Do you think that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, should go to court to seek legal action, or should he concede defeat and just congratulate the president? We want to hear from you. But, you know, we were speaking to the issue of people saying he would not get fair judgment. We have to get to the point in this country where we can hold our leaders accountable. We can demand transparency, accountability, and justice from our leaders. We cannot continue to be docile as a people and say, well, we will not get fair judgment. Oh, well, there'll be subversion of justice. Oh, well, that's how they are. Let's just leave them. We have to be able to stand as a people. It is always said that power belongs to the people, and that's how a democracy works. In a democracy, it is power. It is, you know, okay, we have Stephen calling from Ikeja. Good morning, Stephen.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
But in this Nigeria, I support our people to go to court.
All right, why?
If you not go to court, if we continue like this, continue 4 years, continue like this, let our people go to court. Because people have died. Some people are there because of the corruption of the election, the election. People are there. Let it go to court. That is my support. I want our people to go to court.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. He's also saying there that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar should go to court, because if he doesn't go to court, things will continue like this. Let's also look at the fact that if it's just the Okota issue alone, where a polling station was burnt, I mean, we should also start looking at those kind of issues where we had ballot box snatching, issues in Rivers State, issues in Anambra State, in some states around the country. We also know that the card readers didn't work for a lot of people. Some people are saying that they couldn't vote because of the card readers, so they were asked to put their name down. So those are some of the issues that came up from this election. And then the PDP has asked the INEC chairman, you know, during the collation of results, we saw the PDP party agent there asking the INEC chairman to give them a report on card readers. The INEC chairman has asked them to send in a petition, and then they will get which they will study and then send them a response. But if there were those irregularities during the elections, shouldn't they be challenged? And who is the right person to challenge them, if not the person who feels aggrieved? And let's not forget that it is not only Atiku who is involved in this election, although he is the one who, the closest rival, but he is not the only person who ran for election. If the other candidates decide to also go to court, should they not also be allowed? Is it not their constitutional right? We have IK calling in from Yaba. Good morning, IK.
Precious, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's on the topic. It's just that we know our problem in this country, and that's why people are saying that Atiku shouldn't go to court. Because the judiciary, you know what's happened now about not getting of recent and all those things. People envisage them that it's because of something of this nature, that's why Amayo was removed. And people are already not saying fear that even if he goes to court, it will still come out, he won't really get the right justice. But that will still it's still not the best thing for us to say that he shouldn't go to court. Let him go to court, bring out his evidence, expose this to the whole world to see. Not going to court is not the best thing, because it's just that we're already having the mindset that in Nigeria, going to court does not mean anything. We have so many things that have been tried in this country, and when they are tried in other countries, these people will be brought to book. So that's just the fear that people are not saying, knowing that Buhari has done so many things and the judiciary could not do anything to him. I don't know whether I should just say this thing briefly. I don't know whether we can change this constitution to disenfranchise some people from voting, because it's the poor people that are voting on this into power. The people that already understand the problem of this country are voting for people that can really fix this country. But people that are really poor in this country keep on voting the same sort of people. People that don't know their right and left, they are the ones that are voting this into power. I don't know whether the constitution can disenfranchise them from voting. I don't just, it's just getting people annoyed. They don't know anything. If you give them 100 naira, they will sell everything, sell their life and die and kill and do everything. They are voting these types of people into power all the time. The constitution needs to disenfranchise them from voting, honestly. If you don't do it, you will never get it right too.
All right, thank you so much, Ike, for calling in. Ike calling in from Yaba. Speaking to your last point, everyone has a constitutional right to vote. We must become stronger and deeper in this country. We all have to be involved in voter education to ensure that people do not sell their votes, to ensure that we also begin to discourage political thuggery and violence during elections, as well as ballot box snatching. Those are the things that we must, involve ourselves in. We must also begin to talk to people about voting across, or along ethnic and religious lines. Those are some of the issues, arising from our elections. But, thank you for the earlier points you made concerning why Nigerians are saying that, Atiku shouldn't go to court. You said most people are afraid that he won't get justice because of the issue of the CJN. But let's not forget that Election Petition Tribunal is not the only court. There's the appeal and the Supreme Court. But we have James calling in from Bariga. Good morning, James. Good morning, James. Welcome to Superdawn. Hello, James.
What? Hello?
Hello, go ahead. We can hear you. Good morning. Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
I just want to make a comment concerning the election. Truly, the election is not free and fair. That's why the America, whatever they say, that is free and fair. How is it free and fair when many people were killed, ballot paper were snatched, and even the INEC chairman could not answer a lot of questions, and the calculations and all the rest they are giving out to us, we press it and we see there is no balance. So they keep quiet and announce President Buhari be elected. No, or should be elected or whatever. It's injustice and it's unfair. Who voted Buhari in when all nation is more? That means the election was rigged. There is something wrong somewhere. You understand me? We should be celebrating. And everywhere we're quiet. So this is my own contribution. Please, I advise that people should challenge it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, James, for calling in. James advising Atiku to challenge the result. But that's the last call we're taking on this segment because of our time. But, just to say, James, thank you for calling. You're saying he should go to court. Again, let's say here that it's within his constitution. If he does decide to go to court, it's within his constitutional right. And we must all get to the point where we can trust and our judicial system and hold them accountable for fair judgment. But let's not also forget, like I said earlier, in 2003, when the President Buhari did not win the election, he went to court. In 2007, he went to court. In 2011, he went to court. There is which means that with that antecedent, it's possible that if he did not win in 2015, he would have also gone to court, because the court is a place where people who are aggrieved also seek redress. And that means that it's a good conduct when you say, I mean, we've not heard him incite his supporters to violence. He's been very calm. He's asked everyone to stay calm, and he said he's going to seek redress in court. If that's the only way he's also promoting peace, then he should be allowed to do that because it's within his constitutional right. But we're going to take a break now, and when we return, we'll be wrapping up on the program. Do stay with us. All right, welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us on the program. We'll be wrapping up now. Thanks to everyone who called in to give one opinion or the other on whether the former vice president and the People's Democratic Party presidential candidates in a just concluded election should go to court or not. Thank you for your opinion, but the final decision rests with him, because either ways, you know, whatever decision he takes is his constitutional right. He has the right to decide whether to go to court or not. But we've decided to hang it here. I want to thank everyone who called, like we said earlier, and for everyone who has participated in making today's program a success. Thanks to UKG for being our amiable producer today. Thanks to Jibril for being on in the MCR, and to our cameramen Shegun and Ahmed, thank you so much, and to my supervising producer today, Adenike Owoye Ajiboye. You have been a wonderful supervising producer. Thank you so much for making today's program a success. And this is where we wrap it up. I am Precious Amayo. To have a wonderful day. Up next is the news at 10.